Good morning and welcome to Today in L.A. I'm Mike Amos. He's Bill Rice Jr. and we're talking into a drum this morning, it sounds like.
It does sound like that. Hello.
That's normally because that set mic's not turned down. So here comes our man. And it is a wonderful, wonderful day of pinstripes. We're wearing pinstripes today. You look like the Georgia Bulldogs this morning.
I'm looking at the monitor, and this is a red shirt, but it looks a little like it's got pink on the TV screen.
We got a little color, and nothing wrong with that, and we'll go with it. And of course, school starts at Troy University today. Every one of those kids that you see walking around campus, they're heading to somewhere now.
You know what my key to success in college is? Don't ever schedule an 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning class if you can help it.
No question.
If you go to class, you can graduate from college, right? If you don't go to class, you might have issues.
I was talking to a kid the other day that said, well, I'm going to try to get all my classes in the morning, but I promise you, if you think you're going to be able to sleep in that, no, you probably won't, because somebody's going to always want to be doing something, watching TV or something, But it is a beautiful campus. I noticed there's a new sign outside of town saying Troy University is the most beautiful college campus in Alabama.
I went to Montgomery yesterday on an errand, and on the way back, I saw it for the first time. I like that little marketing idea.
Yeah.
Market what you got to sell, and the beauty of the campus is something that we have to sell.
Davis Grocery, Dave speaking.
Good morning.
Where are you calling from, sir? Hoax Bluff, Alabama.
Grayton Beach, Florida.
Hoax Bluff or Grayton Beach, Florida. Is it all the folks getting out of there now, and it's going to go back to just a very quiet little bit?
Thank goodness. Everybody's starting to head back to school. There's still a few families down here on bikes riding around, but not near as many as before, of course. But
somebody told me that at school, every time you take one of your children to school, you run into an old Troy person that has a kid.
I ran into one of my oldest friends, Stacy Beard, yesterday, so that was great.
And her little boy is going to school then?
That's Stacy Beard Henderson.
Yeah.
She married another friend from Troy, Reynolds Henderson.
Where do they live?
They've been living down here for 15, 17 years. They lived at Rosemary Beach for a long time. Now they live at a real pretty new development called Water Sound Origins.
Oh, right. Yeah, Water Sound.
It does sound good.
You know, one of my...
I was talking to Stacy, and I was telling her we need to hang out soon, and it was good to see her. She has been a really, really good friend of mine for a long, long time. So good to run into a lot of people. Ran into one of our neighborhood Crow Hill girls the day before, Anna Garrett.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Of course, Stacy, former University of Alabama cheerleader, and of course her sister Carmen was also a cheerleader at Alabama, and not bad for a guy that was born and raised in Goshen, Alabama.
What happened to poor old Stephanie?
Stephanie could have been anything she wanted to be, I promise you. If she'd wanted to be a cheerleader at Alabama, she could have been, I promise you.
Yeah, I love it.
She just married Holiday Inn, no big deal.
They're all great gals. I know that. They got the full package. They got the looks and the personality and the smarts.
She married Kimmons Wilson Jr., and he is the grandson of Kimmons Wilson, the guy that founded Holiday Inn.
I've heard that, yeah.
And of course, they're from Memphis. And
you don't see Holiday Inns like you used to, though. That was the hotel when I was growing up, and they're still out there, but not near the numbers. I mean, we used to have a Holiday Inn in Troy forever, and it's now a Quality Inn.
That's right. Been a Quality Inn for quite a while. Wow. That's one thing we need to really put the word out. We've got to have more hotels in our town. It's embarrassing to me to know when a guy's coming in to watch a football game or go to a football game, he's got to spend the night in Greenville or spend the night in Ozark or spend the night in Montgomery.
All these youth baseball and softball tournaments, that happens a lot.
We're losing money because of it, and hopefully...
It's going to feel like 110 degrees in Troy today. I imagine everybody's going to be in the AC.
Well, I hope to be.
You know, you talk about.
That's what they're reporting. 110 degrees, 113 in Greenville.
Man, oh man.
You talk about the MVPs of any town. It's the people in the air conditioning business that keep our air conditioners running.
And I'll tell you right now, no better guy out there than Terry Moats, and call him today at 566-4220, and he'll be out there to your house.
He has helped me several times since I've moved back to Troy.
He's a great guy.
He is a fantastic guy.
Want to mention.
What could y'all go about? Could y'all handle being cold or hot? Which one would be the worst for you?
Well, let me ask you this. You lived in my household a long time. What did I tell you if I would do if my air conditioner went out?
You go get a hotel room.
I'd go get a hotel room. I'm that spoiled. I could not sleep. I mean, like, if I had an air conditioning problem today with the temperature the way it is, no way in the world would I stay in my house. I'm going to go get a motel room.
That's a popular game with children. We played it when we were young. The rather game, would you rather do this or that? And that's a question my kids, would you rather be in somewhere that the temperature is 0 or below and end up freezing to death, or somewhere where a desert where it's 120 degrees and maybe die of heat? That's a tough one.
No question. I want to mention, on a sad note, Cindy Hastings, very good friend of mine, and of course the sister of Herbie Hastings, and she died after a long battle with cancer. And what a wonderful lady. She worked at Hastings and Shipman Accountants for a long time, and a lovely, lovely, courageous lady. And our prayers and our thoughts go out to the Hastings family, and hey, she's with our Lord and Savior. That's where she is. So she's much better off than where we are right now. Again, we've got high temperatures. If you're going to work outside.
Troy reached 97 yesterday. Tuscaloosa was 100. Muscle Shoals was 98. Montgomery was 101. Huntsville was 97. Birmingham was 101. And Anniston was 100 yesterday.
Oh, man.
You know, on the other side of the spectrum is the cold, and I've been on a reading kick lately, and one of the books I read was an account of an expedition that tried to scale Mount Everest about 20 years ago, and about that time they tried to scale it. 12 of them ended up dying, but boy, you want to talk about cold and what it can do to you. You read that book, and now I notice that there's a TV show called, I think, Everest. Have you seen it? Where they document these expeditions that people make every year. It's not only the cold they deal with, it's the altitude gets them too.
I tell you what, I have no, there's a lot of things I have no urge.
You don't have an urge to climb Mount Everest?
No, never. Or also,
I don't either. Especially after reading this book.
A long ski slope. I don't have any urge to do that. You know, I've been snow skiing with people before, and I elected to sit back and enjoy a hot fireplace and a good steak. Let them do all the skiing they wanted to do.
I did it when I was in my mid-20s a couple of times.
Well, if you care anything about the welfare of your family, you wouldn't do it because you could break a leg or neck or whatever.
You know, with my knee and ankle
issues.
And
then what have you got, you know?
Yeah, it was... I did it and had fun with it, but you take several tumbles, and there's no way in the world I could do it now. I'd have to train for 2 years to get in shape to do it.
Of course, Pike County Bulldogs getting ready.
You got to have some leg strength to ski.
But boy, it's beautiful if you go to a nice ski resort. We went to Vail twice, and I saw President Ford there. And
Did you really?
Yeah, my little brother went up the ski lift behind O.J. Simpson.
Oh boy, that was fun.
And some blonde girl, which I bet was, he didn't know who it was, but you don't think that was probably Nicole?
I don't know. Well, she made a mistake getting in above with him, I promise you. Of course, football season just around the corner this time, or a week from Friday is the big battle between Pike County Bulldogs and the Charleston Trojans. That game will be played at Veterans Memorial Stadium. 7 o'clock kickoff. Should be a great game.
So when you ride by on George Wallace Drive and you look over at the high school, can you actually see the new practice field, or is it hidden?
Well, no, it's pretty much hidden, but the south end is fairly visible when you ride by. You can see some of
I
it.
know back in the day there was like other coaches, staffs, and players like hiding in the woods watching practice a lot back in the day.
Yeah. Troy University has been named among the best colleges and universities in the Southeast by the Princeton Review. That's great news. Great universities steer great emotion, said Dr. Jack Hawkins Jr. And Troy University, our faculty, staff, and are committed to helping our students become globally aware and globally competitive.
That reminds me of
a record enrollment this year.
It doesn't look like it, Mike.
I heard that it's down a little. Buddy Starling is in my Sunday school class, and he's in charge of enrollment. And he says it's down. The freshman class is down a little. He says it's really because of demographics. There's not as many high school seniors coming out this year. But speaking of the story about Troy University, big story in AL.com yesterday talking about where the students from Alabama and Auburn and all the state universities come from, what counties. More state students go to Auburn than any other university. They've got 1,600 more Alabama students than University of Alabama. But the school that has the largest number of counties where the plurality of students go to one college is Troy University. There are 15 and a half counties where the most college students in that county go to Troy.
Isn't that great?
It's far more than Alabama and Auburn.
And next to Pike County, I think the most is Enterprise. Enterprise sends a lot of theirs, and boy, we'll take those students.
That's what I said. All the counties around Pike County, all the Wiregrass counties, most of the students in those counties, they go to Troy.
You follow, surrounding counties, Greenville.
The more I'm going to go to Troy than go to Alabama and Auburn.
Mike, I tell you what, I was driving back from Bruton last night and took a wrong turn, and boy, I didn't think I was going to ever get back.
Yeah, I was kind of worried about you driving to Bruton. That's not an easy place to get to or get back.
I drove down through Andalusia and met a young man down there named Pitts, really a nice guy, and he let me keep going. And ended up in downtown Bruton, in a beautiful town. And of course, Bruton, what a shame. Bruton and East Bruton are right next to each other. I mean, just right over across the bridge.
Like Opelika and Auburn.
And people in Bruton don't have anything to do with the people in East Bruton. Mm-hmm. Like that meeting had 40-something people. I think we had one person and he came in late. From W.S. Neal High School, representing East Bruton. W.S. Neal High School of East Bruton and T.R. Miller High School of Bruton. Of course, that's a pretty populated area. It was busy. I know that around quitting time yesterday. And boy, we had some wonderful food, and it was David's Catfish Cabin. And Buddy, they were packed with people, and it was a lot of fun. And
What'd you talk about?
Coming back out, everything was fine until I took my shortcut in Georgiana, and I took the wrong turn. And by taking the wrong turn that cuts over you'll come out just outside of Luverne, I kept going and going and going. I turned around. I went around in a circle. Boy, in the middle of the night, that's not much fun.
You said you added about an hour and a half to your trip, right?
Yeah, I added quite a bit.
What were you doing? Were you trying to get to 331?
No. You've gone through Georgiana and cut across, haven't you? Before to go to Mobile.
Only time I go through Evergreen, not Evergreen, but Georgiana is when I'm heading to the beach, like going to Andalusia.
All right. Well, see, I passed over that road, but I came up 31 and got up to let's see, what's my name of my little town there? The home of Connecticut sausage, Mike. Evergreen, and got confused a little bit, but I ended up where I wanted to, and I took a right there at Georgiana, and was going to take out all the way until the cutoff to Luverne, but I missed the cutoff, and I drove and drove and drove.
What time did you get home? Midnight?
No, it wasn't that late, but it was later than I should have. Let's say that.
How long until you realized you missed your turn?
Well, you're right.
We've all done it.
I said, you know what? I'm so.
Once you get Steve Camp or Bill after the show today to go to your maps on your phone, and you can push a button called home, and it's going to take you straight to your house.
I can't do it.
I got so many.
Your phone will tell you where you're going the whole time.
My car looks like something a jet pilot would look at. It got so many things. But I did talk on the phone with some friends, and I was in communication. And one time I had came up on a terrible wreck. I bet there was 5 ambulances there just outside of Greenville, and ended up going through the big town of McKenzie, Alabama, by mistake.
Oh my goodness, man, you were off.
Well, you saw some of the South Alabama.
I just made the wrong turn at on the Georgiana.
I don't even know if McKenzie has a town.
Yeah, well, they got not much of a town in the what.
They got a little 1A high school I've been to before.
And I'll tell you this, I didn't see anybody move. It was 9 o'clock, and I didn't see anybody moving around at all. In fact, I saw very little cars, maybe 2 or 3 cars totally on my trip back.
Well, he made it back. Thank goodness.
I made it back. and it was an experience. Let's say that. Want to mention?
I was reading an article just a little while ago about Hugh Freeze. Of course, he's a former Ole Miss coach that got in all the trouble, and of course he got hired at Liberty. But he hadn't been able to coach in fall practice or the summer right now, getting ready for the season because he had severe back issues and back spasms.
Oh man!
So can you imagine taking on a new head coaching job and you can't even coach on the field because of your back?
Mike, looking at Pike County High School next week, when they battle Charles Simpson, they've got a running back at Pike County named Rashawn Reynolds that rushed for 2,200 yards last year. That's pretty impressive, isn't it? And then they also have back, Mike, the 2 brothers, Derek and Derek. I want you to hear this. Derek Myhan and Derek Myhan. They're twin brothers. They spell their names D-A-R-R-I-C-K, Derek, and then the other brothers, they spell it D-E-R-R-I-C-K. So there's a difference. There's a
1-letter difference.
One D-A and the other one.
Are they twins?
D-E.
I guess they are.
And they're Myhans, and they belong to the great one himself, Mike.
So those are all Benny Myhan's kids?
Well, it's either his kids or his brother's kids, and
there's always a lot of great Myhans at Pike County. There's always a lot of great Fosters.
Yeah, I'll tell you this: they're going to be good. Last year, they began with they lost to Alabama Christian, but after that, they ended their regular season with a loss to Sweetwater. But before that, they'd won 8 straight games at Pike County, and including wins against Oakman and Thomasville before falling to Flomaton 12-10 in the 3rd round. And Flomaton won it all last year. Did you know that?
Charles Henderson won the Jamboree last year.
Yeah, and of course this.
They beat Prominence Christian.
Yeah, the Bulldogs entered the camp with new faces. Jaden Wilson is the key player offensively that graduated. He's their outstanding quarterback. And now they've got to get a new quarterback. But when you got a running back like this Reynolds kid, you don't need to throw the football.
Turn around and pitch it to him.
Give it to him right and left. So that should be quite a ball game. Not this Friday, but Friday night week. From Veterans
Is Joey Dennison still coaching offensive line down there?
Joey's still coaching, so you know they're gonna be well coached offensive bunch. Of course, I want to say hello to all my friends out there at Pike Liberal Arts, a good picture of Chip Faircloth. And Mike, he is the guy that's going to be carrying a lot of the load at Pike Liberal Arts. He's he's the grandson of the great John Faircloth. And of course, you know, it's
the Hall of Famer.
Yep, and John just recently, his granddaddy just recently went into the Troy University Sports Hall of Fame, and his son, Rob Faircloth, was a career veteran in the Marine Corps. At one time, he flew the president's helicopter.
Air Force One.
Air Force One, not the jet, but the helicopter, and
Flew it for Bill Clinton.
and by Obama. And he said Obama was one of the nicest people he ever met. Said he was just really a great guy. And but his grandson, his son Chip, is one of many outstanding players that return at Pike Liberal Arts. So we'll be watching that. They open their season on the 23rd. Which is
you know what
Mr.
Faircloth did for Troy? He's done a lot for our area in the state. He was the longtime director of the AISA. He's the man that created the triple header state championship, and he brought it to Troy.
That's right.
So that's just thousands of independent schools that come to Troy every year for that state championship games.
No question about it. Of course, we're in our stripes today.
All the students are back in town. Troy's bustling.
Yeah, the folks on the bypass can say, amen, amen. They're back in town. But, you know, you count all the cars, and we're talking about 33 to 35,000 cars go down that bypass every day. More on Fridays than any other day.
Yeah.
But and then throw in 7,500 students, and you got a bunch of business on the bypass. If you own a business out there and you're not making a living, something's wrong. You got a product that's not very good.
I wrote a story about the importance of 231 to Troy when I owned the Troy Citizen. Man, I did a lot of research, interviewed a lot of people, talked about the history of how the bypass came to be, and did the traffic counts. Yeah. And I actually counted the number of businesses that fronted Highway 231. You know, talked about the very first fast food restaurant, and then however many more you have. But it's the equivalent of having a railroad in earlier times go through your community.
When I was running around in the 60s, there were two places you could eat on the bypass. One of them was the Dairy Delight. Mr. Charlie Nyman owned that. And the other one was the Red Wave. There were two hamburger places. And then out north of town was a place called the Suds and Burger.
Well, then you have Wilson's Barbecue.
Wilson's Barbecue was also there, and that was a good place to eat. And but they at 7:30, 8 o'clock, most of those businesses closed down except for the Dairy Delight and the Red Wave, and they stayed open to maybe 10 o'clock. But then the only place you could go would be the Guinea truck stop, which was north of Troy, and a lot of people went there to get something late night to eat, students and so forth.
My grandfather.
The one thing Troy needs more than anything, and I know a buddy of mine tried to buy a franchise and put one in Troy years ago, but they said at the time there wasn't enough people traveling through Troy. But I think maybe now you could finally maybe get a Cracker Barrel, and I would love to see that one day.
You know, Greenville's got a Cracker Barrel. I tell you, Greenville.
Any place from an interstate can have a Cracker Barrel, but at 231, if the travels as much as I've been told over the last few years, maybe you could finally get one.
They should. You know, of course, there's one in Dothan, and you know, and then the next one's in Montgomery. And of course, going up 65, you'll see, you know, quite a few of them before you get to Montgomery.
Yeah, I love Cracker Barrel. Now, you go into Cracker Barrel, you're only going to, I'd join Cracker Barrel, and I'd be the youngest person in Cracker Barrel.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this, you know, we've got a lot of good places. Another one is Sisters, and I don't think Cracker Barrel is quite as good as Sisters Buffet in my book.
You know, I made a huge mistake yesterday, and I went to Paula Dean's all by myself. And,
boy!
It was almost embarrassing me sitting at a table with that much food in front of me.
Yeah. All right, explain how Paula Dean's works. Now, let me tell you this: the food is not
it's
not as
family
good as.
style. So I walk in, there's all these people sitting on all these tables. Of course, it's kind of a ghost town, and I was near Pier Park, so that's where I went. So basically, the cheapest thing I could order was $17.99, and that included 2 meats, 4 sides, and 2 desserts.
Yeah.
So that was the cheapest thing I could order. So I got chicken and dumplings, pot roast and rice, cream corn, scotch casserole, black eyed peas, poppy seed salad, and it came with one of the best like biscuits ever. And then I got my 2 desserts to go. You can't take any food with you except your dessert. And
You take your desserts to go?
The crazy thing they told me was it's all you can eat. So any of this stuff that's out here right now, if you want more of the chicken and dumplings, you want more of the pot roast, it is unlimited. We will keep on bringing whatever you want.
I did not know that, and I've eaten there a couple of times. And,
Yeah, so I come back and I see my mom. I go by y'all's house yesterday and see her afterwards, and I can barely walk. It was the most food I've eaten in months. It was good, but the story to tell the story is Sisters is a lot better.
And it doesn't cost $18 either.
You're right.
Yeah,
and,
I know, but I mean, I could not believe it. I mean, that was the only thing I could order was 2 meats and 4 sides.
Does that include your tea, your drink?
No, that didn't include a drink. I drank water.
Okay.
That's right. That's where I guarantee you. Take a look at what you pay for that tea sometimes.
You know,
they don't give
I'm
it
not
to
gonna.
you.
I'm not gonna.
Most tea is $3.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say the restaurant, but I went to one with my family recently and got them my kids a strawberry lemonade each. $3.79. That's before tax. So you $4, and you got 2 of them. So $8 for 2 lemonades.
Yeah.
Oh.
No question
They're
about it.
charging $4 for gallons of milk down here. It's crazy. In Birmingham, I could get a gallon of milk for about $2.99.
Yeah. I want to mention that Auburn has named their new broadcaster to replace their Rod Bramblett, the voice of the Auburn Tigers for several years, and he and his wife were killed in a terrible accident in Opelika a few months ago. And they have named Andy Burcham, a longtime member of the Auburn broadcast team, will now be the main guy.
Him and Stan White, how they sound together on the radio. Stan White and Bramblett sounded really good together.
Yeah, but Burcham, worked on that group though, and he was a part of it. He's an excellent baseball guy. I've heard him many times in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got Ronnie Brown on the sidelines now. So he's doing the sideline report. Of course, I guess Quentin Riggins forever did it.
Yeah, he did.
But
I bet that sort of.
Auburn's radio broadcast. I mean, let's go ahead and say it. They're the biggest homers of any radio broadcast ever.
Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn is going to win the football game.
If you ever turn it on and they're losing, oh my God! Every official, every call they make is the worst call ever. I mean, it's just like complaining throughout the telecast, and actually that's one of the best things about listening to it is they're homers and they admit to it.
Oh yeah, well I mean you should be homers. Probably you could argue that that's your team.
Yeah, no question.
I mean some radio broadcasts. I mean they're kind of right down the middle. I mean
you're right.
But I mean Auburn is insanely.
Name the top broadcasters in the history of sports.
It's got to be Munson, Kaywood, Ledford, Forney.
Thank you, Doug Layton, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
You talking about just college football?
Well, yeah.
I do not listen to Eli Gold.
Harry.
Yeah, Harry.
Yeah,
I like Fife a lot. I thought Fife was good.
I thought he was good too.
Very good. Eli Gold is a nice guy and he's got a good voice, but he doesn't tell you the basics of what's going on in the game. He doesn't tell you how much the play gained, where the ball is, how much time's left.
Eli Gold's from the Bronx, New York.
But you know what? He specializes in race car announcing. If you've never heard him do a race car, he is the the top guy in race car.
He was always, I don't know if he's still doing it, but
Yeah.
he was big in NASCAR. But
Yeah.
Barry McKnight and Ralph Black, they will tell you play gain 7 yards, the ball's now at the 37-yard line, it's 2nd and 3. I used to cover Troy University basketball and some away football games. Couldn't go to the game, so I would listen to the radio and chart the plays, and you could do it because they gave you all the information.
McKnight's a good announcer. Back in the old days, I can hear it right now. He is hit and knocked down by Bill Rice at the Alabama 14-yard line, and the Crimson Tide will take over on downs.
Have you watched the?
And then on Coach Bryant's show the next day, and he's wiggling around here trying to open up those potato chips, and bingo! That was a great hit. Bill Rice, Bill's from Troy. In fact, I saw Bill's daddy at the game Saturday.
Did you?
And this guy's from out here, Tarrant.
You've watched the Peyton Manning or the Manning documentary on ESPN about all three?
Several times.
Well, Peyton, he said that when he was growing up, he had tapes of the radio broadcast from when Archie Manning was the star at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And he memorized all of his daddy's teammates, their hometowns, by repeatedly listening to those radio broadcasts.
Yeah. Well,
and he did it on that documentary. He said, "There's so and so from is the right guard." And
a little trivia here: name the game and the two teams that played in the first NCAA night football game on Major Network.
That's an easy one.
What? Which one?
Alabama Ole Miss.
Alabama Ole Miss.
Archie Manning versus Scott Hunter.
And the game was played. Was it played in Birmingham or was it played in Jackson?
I think it was in Legion Field.
Was it at Legion Field?
I think so. Yeah, that way it was.
You on today in L.A.? Good morning.
Sorry, I had to drop off for a second.
We're talking about, Mike, the first night football game ever televised. Do you know who the two teams were?
Ole Miss, Alabama.
Yeah. I want to say that game was played in Jackson. I could be wrong. Let's go to our...
I thought that game was at Legion Field.
Maybe it was. Hold on a minute. Let's go to our... put you on hold a minute. And we'll go to our phones here. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Mike, it's Max. How are you this morning?
Max Howell calling in from Fulton, Mississippi. And Max, we were talking about the first televised college football game.
Night game.
I mean, night game, and it really surprised me because, you know, it wasn't so terribly long ago. Of course, it was Ole Miss and Alabama. But you're right. I do visualize it was Alabama was wearing red jerseys, so it was played in Birmingham.
Classic game.
Archie was wearing those white jerseys with red. What do you call them? What do you call them when they're down like that? What do you call that? On your jerseys.
Not a tearaway jersey.
It was like UCLA. What do you call them? UCLA. Well, we'll get it in a second. Hold on one second. Let's pick up this other line. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Hey, Mike, Will Matthews.
All right, Will, I'm going to try to fit y'all in here. If I miss you, I'll
we
get back with you.
We got three on the line.
Yeah, we're going to try to set up a new record here. Look how much easier that was. Now, who's on the line?
We lost two.
You think we did?
The lights are off.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Got Mike.
Mike, we got you? Max, we got you, Max?
You got me.
Okay, I lost Max. Trying to pull everybody together. We'll do that in a second. Hopefully they'll call right back. Mike Amos is calling in from the shores of beautiful Gulf of Mexico.
But that game, I think that Archie Manning had over 400 yards total offense. I mean, he ran for over 100, threw for about 300. Ole Miss lost the game in a classic.
But Scott Hunter was the quarterback for Alabama, and he threw for about 300 yards. He had a great game.
I have read books, and they said that's a historic game because it really put ABC TV on the map covering college football. Roone Arledge was the director and producer of that.
Now let me tell you the most unique thing.
Did Keith Jackson do the game?
No, not then. Back
No,
then.
I want to say Lindsey Nelson did it, or Chris Schenkel, or
I
one of the
bet
other.
that was him.
Maybe Chris Schenkel. Something very unusual in Alabama history was also a part of that game. Do y'all know what it was?
They had some kind of like sticker for 100 years of football.
You're exactly right, my friend. They had Alabama, instead of having the numbers, the only year ever that they had something other than numbers on their helmets was they had a football sticker, and then it said 100 and 100th anniversary of college football.
And this year's the 150th.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's 50 years ago. Wow.
Exactly right. So we lost Max, and we hopefully he'll call us back. But
yeah, 150 years of college. I think ESPN is doing a big multi-part series on the history of college football. One of these great documentaries like they recently did on the sport of basketball. That ought to be coming up soon. That ought to be fantastic.
Well, if you look back over history and you look at the greatest players in college football, I hate to say this, but it's the truth. Probably the greatest player to ever play college football was the great one out of Southern Cal.
What, you think OJ was?
He was a great one, Mike. Oh, he was good.
He was good.
He was really good.
I tell you what, Tim Tebow was really good.
But hey, let me tell you this.
Cam Newton for 1 year is the best college football player I've ever seen.
Yeah, he was good. And
They were talking about that on Three Man Front yesterday. The Sports Illustrated did the top 10 all-time great seasons by one player, and they left off Cam Newton in 2010, and they were getting grief because they gave Cam Newton's numbers.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they said, you take Cam Newton away from that team, and they ain't winning the national championship. They're going 7-5. You're right.
Was the comeback against Alabama, Mike? Was it?
Yeah, that was Cam Newton. Alabama was up 24-0.
Yeah.
Should have gone up 31-0.
You remember in that game right before the half?
About to score a touchdown, and Auburn's got knocked it out of his hands.
That's right.
Around the 10-yard line, and it becomes a touchback.
And it rolled out of the end zone, they've been up by 35.
Yeah, right before the half, and it's 24-7 at the half.
That's right, and he brought them back in the second half.
Richardson dropped a touchdown pass, too. It was a little low. You remember that McElroy threw to him and hit him around the knees, but he dropped it. Yeah, Alabama had a chance. I remember at halftime, everybody thinks Alabama has it in hand, and I said, And if you remember, Auburn had two defensive starters that were held out the first half. They got those guys back.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had fairly.
Mark Barron hurt his shoulder, and Auburn opens the second half with a long pass. And Mark Barron is right there to intercept it, and he got
his arms.
Yeah, and he shouldn't have been in the game.
Yeah, can you believe they had him in the game and he couldn't even lift his arms?
I know it. They sure did, and it was the biggest play of the game.
There's all kinds of stories about that game. That was a cold football game. I remember Dad and I went to that game, and I already was not feeling good going into the game, and I literally had the flu for a week after that game. I was just sick as a dog.
But give credit to Auburn and Cam Newton. He made a couple passes in that game that you could just tell that he was at another level.
Oh, he was a great player, no question about it.
And that's a famous play for Lutzenkirchen, too. The great tight end for Auburn that ended up, unfortunately, getting killed in the car crash.
A little trivia question.
He had a big touchdown.
All right, now you're going to know the rest of the story. Who coached Lutzenkirchen in...
Chip Lindsey coached in the high school.
Chip Lindsey coached Lutzenkirchen, one of the most popular players in the history of Auburn's football program. Of course, he was later tragically killed in an automobile accident. But Chip Lindsey coached him. Now, hear this. And then not too long after that, Chip Lindsey was the offense coordinator at Auburn.
Yeah, well, Lindsey was an analyst on in 2013 for Auburn.
Let me go over some of these names that,
the national championship.
from top of my memory on SI's best single seasons ever. They've left out Cam, but they had, I think, Tebow, They had Johnny Manziel's Heisman Trophy winning
yeah,
year.
that was great.
The only defensive player they had was the defensive lineman from Nebraska. I think they had a Herschel Walker's one of his years. Those were
Well, they had to have the great year for OJ.
I tell you what, Mark Ingram put Alabama on his back when they won the Heisman Trophy, and when he won the Heisman Trophy, they won the national championship in 2009. I mean, how many games did he win it? Back in the Wildcat position.
Yeah.
McElroy didn't do a whole lot in certain games.
They only had one defensive player, which they talked about, and then they talk about the possibilities for great seasons as defensive players. Derek Thomas's senior year at Alabama, when he had, I think, 28 sacks, blocked a bunch of kicks.
It was unreal.
They didn't have him on there, and they said maybe they should have had that season.
Yeah, no question. And
that record of Thomas's will never be broken.
Another player they mentioned and made a strong case for was Nick Fairley on that Auburn team, the defensive lineman. His numbers were just as good as Namakuchi from Nebraska.
Let's just say this, that Brody Kroll dreams of Fairley every night when he goes to bed, doesn't he, Mike?
Brody Kroll didn't go against Fairley. Brody Kroll was way before that. You got to remember, Brody Kroll then...
Well, who was that Auburn guy that had a field day against him?
Yeah, all of them did.
No,
you got to remember, Brody Kroll was in the Shula days.
Yeah, but who was the guy that sacked him so many times?
John Parker Wilson was after Brody Kroll.
Yeah, but who sacked him so many times? Auburn sacked Brody Kroll about 10 times.
Auburn sacked, 12 times.
12 times. Sacked him 12 times.
Yeah, there's a bumper sticker if you sack Brody Honk or something.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, the one thing Alabama folks don't want to look at is the T-shirt where it showed. Well, that is. Wait a minute. 5-1. Let's see now. 5-1. I can't even do it. 5-1.
Don't you think Tommy Tuberville's trying to walk back that six-finger thing he did against Alabama? Now that he's running for Senate, he wants these Alabama fans to vote for him. I've noticed that he's been saying a lot of nice things about Alabama football lately.
No question about it.
I see Tuberville down here at the beach every once in a while. I see him in Great every once in a while. And, I mean, the guy's a multi-millionaire. Why in the world does he want to get into politics?
E-G-E-O, E-G-O, E-G-O.
They all got it, don't they? All the politicians? Not all of them.
Ego. But I tell you what, he's well known, and
he'd be as good as anybody.
He probably would. And he probably could pass some legislation, And
I want people to repeal legislation. We got too much legislation.
And that's going to be interesting to see how he does. Does he still own part of the Alabama-Florida Fish House? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if he's in on that anymore or not. I've always heard that story.
He was, and I always enjoyed eating there. And his partner is the guy that owns the Ocean Club, which is one of the better places to eat down there. But Mike Amos calling in from...
there's a poll out today, 100 receivers at the University of Alabama that have had over 1,000 yards in receiving. It's pretty interesting that this is a guy you don't really think about, but he played on some of the Shula teams. But David Palmer had 1,000 yards receiving and 61 receptions in '93. But then in 2006, DJ Hall had 1,056 and 62 receptions.
I don't even remember B.J. Hall.
2007, he had 1,005 and 67 receptions, but you never ever hear that name. But he was a great wide receiver at Alabama.
Did he play in the pros?
Mm-hmm. I think he had bad attitude. He had attitude issues.
Yeah, he had big attitude. He played 1 year for Saban, but then 2010, you had Julio Jones, 1,033, 78 receptions. Amari Cooper had 1,000 yards in 2012, 59 receptions. And then this record will probably never be broken. Amari Cooper in 2014 had 1,727 yards receiving and 124 receptions.
Boy, that was great. They're fixing...
Close. 124 receptions, 1,727. And then Calvin Ridley had 1,045, 89 receptions in 2015. And then Jerry Jeudy, who lot of people think it's going to be a top 5 pick for Alabama. Had 1,315 yards.
That is
And
unreal.
68 receptions. But Amari Cooper's numbers in 2014 are incredible.
And you know he's fixing to renew his contract in the pros, and no telling what he'll be paid. I heard some news yesterday. Of course, the quarterback at Dallas, Dax, Prescott, is trying to get a
they're all trying to get new
salary
contracts.
increase. Let me tell you this though. For the past 3 years, or the past 2 years, he's made the minimum $450,000 a year for the last 2 years. This year, he's scheduled to make $2 million. Mm-hmm. Well, right now, he's going through a lot of controversy over where the Dallas Cowboys should pay him $40 million a year.
How do they pay him, Amari Cooper, and that running back that's holding out?
Yeah, Zeke Elliott's holding out. So, I mean, he's not even at training camp, the great running back.
All right, and now...
That's why Chun from Troy's got a chance to play for the Cowboys this year.
I hope he does.
He got 5 yards on 2 carries the other night.
What, Chun did? Mm-hmm. 5 yards on
2 carries.
Oh, man.
Well, that's something.
Yeah, well, he was in there playing at least. But I will say this, Dax is trying to get $40,000. Right now they're at $30 million a year, which is just peanuts. You wouldn't believe what some of these guys are making, Mike. The Seattle quarterback is the highest paid.
He got $150 million, didn't he?
Yeah, and a bunch of it is
signing bonus.
Well, yeah,
a bunch of it's guaranteed.
Guaranteed, which I can't get over. He makes $35 million a year.
35.
Seattle quarterback makes $35 million a year in a 5-year deal or something like that.
I mean, he's a great player, but I wouldn't put him out like as a Brady or the leader of the league.
Do you know the quarterback at Washington? This is the craziest thing I've ever remembered. You remember that scrawny quarterback for Michigan State, and then he goes into the pros.
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins had a contract for $80 million.
Yeah, he plays for the Minnesota Vikings.
But that's just low on the.
You know what that tells you is that the NFL is a quarterback league. They know that to have any chance to be competitive, you got to have a good or decent quarterback. And when they get one, they want to lock them in.
Most of them making the $25 to $30 million a year. Most of the quarterbacks, and there's a few out there that are not making it, but they're making 8
Tom Brady had just turned 42 years old, and he's trying to extend his contract 3 years so that he could potentially be playing quarterback in the NFL at age 45.
And let me tell you something about him. He has not pushed the issue on how much money he's making. A lot of people make more money than Brady. But Brady's, of course, he makes probably $25 million a year,
okay.
Something like that. But this year, for the first time only, he got involved in negotiating his contract. So no telling what it's going to end up being. But hey, he's if any of them are worth it, Brady's worth it. If any of them out there are worth it,
Yeah, I mean, that team has been the dominant team in the NFL since he took his first snap. It was amazing.
We're going to take a short break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back with more of Today in L.A.
Safety first at Wiley Sanders Truck Line. At Wiley Sanders Truck Line, we practice safety first. That's right, safety first. Remember, school is about to start. Look twice, then look again. Wiley Sanders Truck Line, where safety is first. Wiley Sanders Truck Line, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, 401k, up to 4% of your gross pay. We match it, 4% of your gross pay. Wiley Sanders Truck Line, Troy, Alabama. Drive for the best, Wiley Sanders.
Hey folks, are you tired of spending hard-earned money on a gas grill only to have it burn up in less than 2 years? Not to mention burning your food. Here at Southern Grill and Patio in Troy, Alabama, we carry the Holland Grill line. They've been around since 1988, and there are people right here in Troy that have had theirs for over 20 years. These grills are guaranteed not to flare up.
You can grill, steam, or smoke on your new Holland Grill today. Come see us at Southern Grill and Patio in Troy, Alabama, inside Town and Country Flooring Center.
Troy Cable Security makes it easy to stay aware and stay in control of your home wherever you are. User-friendly interface allows easy navigation for lights, locks thermostat, video and garage doors. Never worry about leaving your garage door open or the front door unlocked. Your mobile app can send alerts to your phone for alarm and no alarm events. Know when your children arrive home from school with video response. Make sure your home is powered by Troy Cable Security for ultimate access, awareness, and protection.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
War Eagle, the Auburn Tigers, getting ready to open up their 2019 season as they travel to Dallas, Texas to play in Jerry Dome against the Ducks of Oregon. It's Auburn and Oregon on national TV, and that is on September 1st or August 31st. August 31st.
Does Jerry Jones get a cut from all these college games that are played at Jerry World?
I don't know. I bet he does, but he's a smart guy. Somebody told me that the cost to build Jerry World was a record, something like
$1 billion,
several billion, more than $1 billion.
But they keep events in there all the time.
This guy is not quite as loud, but he wins. Ladies and gentlemen, the Crimson Tide of Alabama goes up against the Duke Blue Devils. And that game will be played, right?
In the new Georgia Dome.
The new Georgia Dome, and I promise you, if you drive over there, you'll get a ticket, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, outside the dome for $10.
And, of course, Alabama and Duke, I think Alabama comes in the game with over a 30-point spread, isn't it? Something like 31, or what is it?
I would like to go to that game because I wouldn't have too many worries about Alabama losing the game. I like to go to the games where you can relax and watch the players do their thing, and you don't have to sweat out the outcome.
Yeah. Of course, Troy opens on against Campbell University on August 31st, so everybody gets going at the same time. That Troy game is scheduled to kick off at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so I think Auburn's playing at night, and Alabama's playing at
2:30, I think.
2:30, yeah.
So that Alabama game ought to be decided, knock on wood, by the time Troy kicks off.
And, of course, go ahead and buy your tickets to Troy University, and of course, those tickets sit for 6 home games, and I noticed they got a package for $60. Good morning, you on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Just calling back. Sorry.
My game is calling back.
Trying to get your granddaughter to go to school this morning. She didn't want to go.
She don't want to go to school. Bless her heart. You know, you'd be like that too if you had a life of leisure all summer long.
I kept on telling her when she gets home today that I'll take her down to the beach so she can go swimming.
That's good. She'll like that.
I don't know how my mom did it with 3 kids. You know, she got us all up, dressed, fed us a breakfast at the table every morning. How many people do that? You know, eggs and bacon and cereal and coffee.
Every morning.
Toast. Every morning. Yeah.
You know, Larry Johnson across the street always cooked breakfast for his boys. Did you know that?
Really? A lot of people do it now.
Always did. But how would you have to
I just throw my kids a Pop-Tart and say, there.
You Bill Rice, first of all, you got to feed Bill Rice, Bill Sr. Then you got to feed Rush and Bobby and Bill breakfast. I mean, those 3 big guys, all of them over 6'4", and that was a lot of food right there. How many things of bacon did y'all eat?
No telling. You know, you have a new appreciation for your parents after too late, you know, when you're older. But she did it for 20 years, I guess. Good breakfasts.
Oh, yeah, hot breakfast.
And I told you the other day, you know, that.
What's the age difference between all y'all, the brothers?
Rush is 4 years older than me, and I'm 2.5 years older than Bobby. So I was an 8th grader when Rush was a senior in high school, and when I was a senior in high school, Bobby was a freshman in high school.
All right, now Rush was 6'5", wasn't he, at least?
At least, yeah.
Bobby was at least 6'5", wasn't he?
No, he's about 6'3" or 4".
And you're what, how tall?
6'2".
You're a pretty big guy.
All three of y'all went to Alabama on academic scholarships?
Bobby went to Troy. So Rush and I went, we were both on Army ROTC scholarships for a while.
Oh, boy, so you had to go through ROTC.
I did it for 2 years.
Shine your shoes.
Y'all didn't go on the Bryant scholarship?
Yeah, Dad, you know, he that would have hurt Dad's feelings to think that Coach Bryant had to pay for his kids' education. I guess we qualified, but we didn't use it. Plus, you know, we both messed up and lost our ROTC scholarships. I didn't do so well starting my second semester of my sophomore year, and so that's why I ended up back home with Mom and Dad and graduated from Troy. But for a while, I went through ROTC for 2 years.
Let me tell you a nightmare.
I didn't know you were a Troy graduate, so you ended up not finishing in Alabama?
That's right, yeah.
That's right. But let me tell you a nightmare. In the 50s and 60s at Auburn, it was mandatory to go through ROTC. Did you know that, Mike? Every boy had to go through ROTC at Auburn in the 50s and the 60s.
Because the possibility.
The first 2 years,
I think I'm right.
right.
Dad graduated with ROTC.
I think I'm right, but at Auburn though, it was required for 2 years ROTC.
I'll tell you what happened to Dad. He was in ROTC, graduated, got drafted by the Houston Oilers, went and tried to make the team, and he got cut in the last cut. And immediately after he got cut and couldn't play in the NFL, he went to Fort Benning and reported as a second lieutenant and served 2 years active duty. But I think he was getting paid just as much as a second lieutenant as he would have been as a Houston Oilers football player.
If I can remember right, he had a terrible knee injury, and they didn't know how to fix knees back then. They really didn't. I've seen.
You know when he hurt it?
I've seen some people walking around like that. You know.
He said he hurt that knee right before his senior year at ROTC camp. You know, you've got to go for one summer as ROTC training. He was in Oklahoma. This was not National Guard thing. It was a full summer.
Yeah.
And he said he was playing a softball game and was running into second base, and he slid or tried to slide, and he tweaked or did something to his knee, and it bothered him. That knee bothered him. He played through it his whole senior year. And then in the Senior Bowl, he re-injured that knee.
Yeah.
And
he was. I tell you what, he was pretty now. What was the most though he ever weighed? About 220, 225?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
6'5", a legitimate 6'5", and I used to.
I mean, how long has the Senior Bowl been going on? That had to be one of the first.
A long time. Yeah, the Senior Bowl was a long time, and then for years and years you had the blue-gray game. I used to look at the blue-gray game like they're from the north. They're the enemy. They're from the north, and they're playing the South, and we want the South to beat the North. And then these fans would come in. I'd go to the game, and they'd be from the North, and they'd have all these heavy coats on. And I used to go to every one of the blue-gray games for years.
Oh, yeah. I went to a lot of them, too.
It's amazing that Troy University hosted the blue-gray game.
That's right. 1 year, Troy University hosted the blue-gray game. That was something, wasn't it?
That was something.
Johnny Williams pulled that out.
I wish they would bring it back. Well, now Montgomery has the Camellia Bowl, which seems to be a success.
In fact, at one time, you know, he brought back an All-Star game for a couple of years.
That's right.
Talking about Johnny Williams. And then, of course, they started bringing, were able to get a bowl bid, which was excellent for Montgomery. Montgomery will be the scene of the first official football game of the year. It will be played in Crampton Bowl, and it'll be the Sanford Bulldogs against the Youngstown, what's their nickname, Mike?
Youngstown State?
Yeah, Youngstown State. What's their nickname?
I don't know. He might be called Danny Lee.
Danny Lee would know that. Danny Lee would know that. Call in, Danny Lee. Call in, Danny Lee.
You know what I remember about Danny Lee? When I was working in the newspaper when Alabama played Miami in 1992 for the national championship. Miami was a big favorite. All Alabama fans.
Very well.
Well, I did a story, just talking to football fans about what they predicted about the game. And Danny Lee was really the only one. He said, Alabama's not only going to win, they're going to win easily, is what Danny Lee said.
Yeah.
And
I nailed it. Pete the Penguin.
The Penguins, all right. Okay, that's a great nickname for the Youngstown State. And their president of the university, Mike, was quite a football coach in his own right.
Yeah, Jim Tressel.
Jim Tressel, former Ohio State head coach, is now the president of Youngstown State, and that game will be played at 1 o'clock in the afternoon before the Alabama game and the Auburn games. So you'll be able to see it this weekend. First football game. You'll see the Sanford Bulldogs against the Youngstown State, and then you'll see the University of Miami against Florida.
That's next weekend.
No, that's this weekend.
You're kidding.
Wait a minute. Yeah, it's the next weekend. Next weekend, the 24th. Yeah.
I was going to say, football this weekend.
It's not moving that fast, is it?
Well, we got NFL preseason games.
Yeah, no question.
Anybody goes for those.
All right, Mike, we're going to put you on hold and going to bring in Max Howell. Good morning. You're on today in L.A. How you doing?
Mike, it's Max again. I've been on. Me and Will Matthews have been talking for the last 15, 20 minutes.
I know it. I was always wondering how that works. How did that work?
It worked out fine.
Yeah, well, good.
We covered about 20 or 30 years in about 15 minutes.
All right, now, I'm going to bring Mike on, and I'll be right back with you. I'm going to put you on hold.
We cross our fingers.
All right, and cross your fingers. There we go. Got both of you. Is that right?
I'm here.
Max Howell calling in from Fulton, Mississippi. Max, I'm going to throw out a little trivia to you. The first night football game, televised night football game, was between what two teams?
Alabama and Ole Miss.
Alabama and Ole Miss, and that's where Archie went crazy.
Archie Manning, and I believe Scott Hunter.
Scott Hunter was Alabama's quarterback. And in that game...
I coached against Scott Hunter when I was at Bay Eye in Panama City before I went to Troy.
Yeah, and he played at Viger, didn't he?
Yep. They beat us 7-6 in the fog. You couldn't even see across the field.
Wow.
We had them 6-0 going into the last 2 minutes of the game, and Scott just throws one up. Nobody saw it for this. And the wide receiver was standing in the end zone. Our defensive back didn't know he was back there. 7-6 that night.
That was something. Of course, Scott Hunter was quite a college football player, too. He threw that night for 300-some yards, and I think Archie had close to 500 yards in total offense.
Very true.
But in that game, a Mississippi guy stole the show. A guy named George Raniger ran the kickoff back, second half kickoff back 100 yards to put Alabama up.
Yes, I didn't remember all of it. We were playing.
Yeah, that's right.
69. So, we had a game. I'm sure we had a game that night at Troy, and I didn't get a chance. I obviously read about it, and probably since it was televised, maybe we saw some clips on it.
Yeah.
That was the first one.
Yeah, it was a historic game.
Do you think the college game's going to be like the pro game before long? These early practices, they just sit their top players over there on the bench and to keep them from getting hurt. You look at all these players in Alabama that are hurt. Do you think they do too much hitting? What would you recommend?
The conditioning situation now is so much different. And the fact is that these kids, they stay in a program for 12 months a year. The nutrition's different. The whole game is headed in a different direction. Now, there's a lot of anti-sentiment by the NFL trying to get to that point with the number of games, the playoff system, and all that. But it certainly looks like it's trended that way. You can't help but recognize some of the things. And the guys that making the decision at the college game look back and said, hey, with all the money that the NFL is wherever they are. That, you know, the colleges need that. The difference is the colleges in Division I, they got to support 18 sports. The NFL just has to support themselves.
That's a good point.
You know, game by game.
But,
So,
you know, yeah, you're exactly right. And, again, Alabama has lost 2 or 3 very important players on their team. Now, of course, Alabama should have plenty of depth, but, you know.
Well, that schedule, too, Mike, you look at that schedule. That schedule's set up, you know, for the first 6 weeks or so. You know, I got Duke, they open up with Duke, and, you know, after that, it's, I'm not doing it from memory, but the first 5 or 6 is actually set up for anybody to get something, they all get some young guys in there. And of course, I don't meet, you know, get to the meat of the schedule to toward the end when they have, you know, Coach Sandy and LSU and Auburn. I don't know how good Auburn's going to be.
Yeah. But, you know, I can see the.
Only game they should struggle maybe before they play Texas A&M is at South Carolina. South Carolina might give them a game. I don't know.
Yeah, they might. Yeah.
But I doubt it.
Mike, I don't think Will's got enough depth. You know, they might give a game for a half, but Alabama will pull away probably. You know, but strange things happen. You know that.
Yeah.
Nobody ever thought they'd lose to Clemson like they did either.
There's no question that the 2 most dynamic are the football programs, of course, it's Alabama and Clemson, and they all do it. They do it with big offensive and defensive lines. They beat you up front, don't you agree?
Oh, that's what they, you know, they go Alabama and Clemson both. They don't sign 8 or 10 every year off that foot. That's where it all starts, Mike. It's a snap.
That's right.
First contact is those linemen up there. That's where you got to.
If you can't block them, you sure can't beat them. Is that right?
You can't move the ball. That's right. You can't.
And of course, but if you can block them, you got a chance. Is that right?
Yep.
That's why I think Auburn might have a chance this year, is that they're so strong on the defensive line.
They are strong on and everybody is trying to beef up their defensive lines because of the success Alabama's had all these years. Isn't that right? They think they've got to be big and strong up front, or they can't beat Alabama.
Yes, very true.
Max Howell calling in from Fulton, Mississippi. What's your week been like, Max? I know you're on the radio a lot.
Let's see. I was kind of around town on Monday. Yesterday, I had lunch with a friend of mine overlooking the Mississippi River over in Greenville, Mississippi. That was about a 4.5 hour drive each way. So I stayed on the road most of the day yesterday. Kind of quiet today, but yeah, I got a couple speaking engagements. I did a show in Orlando, Florida, on the phone. I stopped on the side of the road and did that yesterday. And then I had an interview with USA Today last night. So,
right.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Max, we don't see USA Today around here as much. What happened to USA Today?
Well, it's like every other newspaper. The internet's taking all the newspaper business, Mike.
Mike, what is the deal on USA Today? We don't see them around here anymore.
I mean, they still have the USA Today coaches poll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it's I think it's still pretty strong in certain markets. I don't know whether some of the smaller markets they probably cut back on the print numbers,
right?
Mainly because of cost.
Yeah, no question about it.
I know. Every time I stay in a hotel, I get a free USA Today.
Do you?
I think that's where all the circulation comes from, is the freebies at the hotels and in the airports.
Yeah, no question about it. Max Howell is our guest. Of course, Max known across the country as one of the top football analysts in the country. And Max, do you see anybody touching Alabama or Clemson? Is there a question mark with Georgia, or is there a question mark with Ohio State? Can anybody beat those 2 teams?
Yeah, I think with Georgia, I think the whole thing is it depends on what Florida can do. Florida's going to be, I think, improved from last year when they beat Georgia better than I don't think they got the depth too. That's I'm still, Dan Mullen gets another year. He'll give Georgia all they want. So I think it's going to be Alabama and Clemson. But again, Alabama's historically, going 12-0 is almost impossible anymore. So you give them 1, but who is that 1? It's going to be LSU. It's going to be Texas A&M. Could it be Auburn again? Where does that one loss go?
My sleeper. To me, the team that's got a chance if they can beat Alabama is LSU. If LSU could get on a run and beat Alabama, they could win a national championship.
Well, we're going to see the second week, Mike. They got to go to Austin and see. Texas is going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
We're going to see if they can go out there and beat Texas. If they do that and kind of dominate them, then I think I got LSU second in the West right now.
You know, your best friend,
LSU and A&M.
One of your best friends, Coach.
LSU's not going to beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa.
Well, if they do, though, if they do.
Last time, Mike, I was there the last time they did it.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama's won 8 in a row against LSU.
I would think it'd be more than that, wouldn't it?
They won 12 in a row against Tennessee.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Boy, back in the heyday of Tennessee, they would have fired their coach every year until they beat Alabama, wouldn't they?
Can you believe that Tennessee has fallen as far as they have for as long as they have? I mean, that shows you what can happen to blue blood programs, and Tennessee was a blue blood program, man.
Well, you remember?
But let me tell you, a lot of that came from internal, from the academic side as well. They fired 3 chancellors in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
The board of trustees were in a mess. The Haslams was trying to run it. Billy and Jimmy and all that bunch, the governor and the Cleveland Browns owner and all that stuff, and got involved with their program, and they were really making some. And didn't you remember after Pat Summitt died? I don't know where y'all kept up financially with them, but they were $4 or $5 million in debt.
Yeah.
That they had a complete separate. They had to merge back the women's program with the men's to get control of the expenditures. It was internally just chaos up there. And, of course, the end result was the football program went downhill as well.
Max Howell is our guest. It's brought to you by...
You know the Haslams really like former Alabama players to be their coaches. Freddie Kitchens is their new head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and Jeremy Pruitt's the head coach of Tennessee.
That's very true. That's
Well, let me just tell you this. At one time, those Tennessee Volunteers were awfully good. They had a receiver named Severs. Do you remember that guy, how good he was? And, of course, they had a running back named Haskell Standback. You remember him?
They had a quarterback named T. Martin that's on the staff.
T. Martin led them to one of the biggest. Did he win a national championship?
Yeah, he was the national championship quarterback, and I think he's an assistant coach, isn't he, Max, at Tennessee this year?
Yeah.
He must have got fired at USC as the offensive coordinator.
But Max, they were known for their linebackers: Hacksaw Reynolds,
Al Wilson,
Jamie Rotella, Al Wilson, Jackie.
They had the guy that played for the Cowboys for years, Bill Bates.
Yeah, Jackie Walker. You remember he? I think he was one of the first black athletes.
Reggie White was their best player ever.
And but they had great linebackers. You remember that at Tennessee?
Oh yeah, and here's the funny thing: that they did most of the recruiting outside the state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
They rarely went past Nashville going west. They stayed at Nashville, Franklin, Market. Then they hit the Carolinas. That's down the coast.
Well, and then, of course, Memphis, thanks to some good buddies of ours, was Alabama country. And all those guys, the LeBoos, the LeBoo brothers, all came out of Memphis. And
well, that was Logan Young's country.
Yeah.
Let's don't talk about him.
And they had a quarterback, and I'm trying to remember his name, but he was one of the great quarterbacks that never played in the game at Alabama, but he was from Memphis. I'll think of that in a few minutes, the name of that guy.
I'll tell you how bad it was in Memphis, Mike. When I was at Ole Miss, we were in the recruiting office. Billy said, "Do not go to Memphis." He said, "We can't afford it." It was unbelievable. I mean, to walk in to get an interview, somebody had to get paid.
Yeah.
It's telling you, it was absolutely, that was, I can't even go into all the stories.
Max,
I know schools pay for athletes, and they've been doing illegal recruiting for years. I mean, do you think it's gotten worse, Max, since you're there, or do you think it's gotten better?
It's become more refined, Michael. I think it certainly goes on. I think the NCAA's done as good as they could do by keeping eyes, and but I will be the first to tell you, having been involved in a couple of those interviews that NCAA has with their compliance group, is that country on who they're going to go after.
Well, at one time, Tennessee stole two of Alabama's greatest players. One of them was Richmond Flowers, and the other one was a guy named Condridge Holloway. You remember that?
Well, I remember Coach, but I know that the whole story, what the fact is that Richmond Flowers wanted to get out of the state of Alabama.
Yeah, well, he wanted also
I
wanted.
remember who his dad was.
That's right. You're right. And then at the same time, he was a great hurdler and, great track star, and Tennessee had the best track program in the conference.
That's very true. But also, there was some political goings on in Alabama at that particular time.
Dad was very.
He thought it was best for him to move to another state. It didn't work out better for him.
You know who's paying these players though now? I think a lot more than the road boosters. It's these sports agents and money managers and runners. That's what you can't control.
They've got the system, Bill, has gotten really. It is a system. And every school's kind of got a path to it, and some expose more than others, and it's more talked about. And the NCAA's going to, they're going to interview the top 100 kids every year anyway. And they're going to go, if somebody keeps getting top ones every year. That's what brought Ole Miss down. Ole Miss has been a mediocre, the bottom league team, and all of a sudden they're going to get 3 or 4 guys that's number 1 picks in the country. And then
That's right.
Why.
Something had to be, when Alabama would have had to called them on these recruiting guys, because they were turning down Alabama to go to Ole Miss.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Kimdichi's head coach at high school in Georgia playing on Alabama's national championship team. Normally that guy would have gone to Alabama in a heartbeat.
Hey, Michael, he's already committed to Clemson.
Yeah. And their mamas and daddies saying, hey, we got this money, and we got it.
Clemson took Kim Beachy and 5 more off that high school team. And then when Kim Beachy switched to Ole Miss, Clemson dropped the other 4.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was it gets really, if anybody really wants to know, I can give you 3 or 4 names to dig into. It'll shock you.
Yeah.
I was telling Dad, Freeze can't even coach right now at Liberty. He's been out of all the practices because of back issues and back spasms.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know you're a big Freeze fan.
Oh, wait a minute! Don't get him on Freeze. He knows stuff on Freeze that nobody else
Hey,
knows.
Michael and Mac, I was listening to Jim Rome's show yesterday, radio show, and his guest for about 20 minutes was Neil Brown at West Virginia.
And we're gonna have to get him on our show too.
He'll do that. You know that.
Did Neil talk much about Troy?
I didn't catch the beginning of it when they probably set up how he got to West Virginia. He mentioned Troy one time when I was listening, but he handled himself really well and made some interesting points about the West Virginia program and how good their tradition is, and pointed out that West Virginia had 3 chances in the last 30 years or so of playing for a national championship. So
exactly right. And the quarterback they had came out of Mobile, Alabama.
That's right.
Was white, and
he bragged about Coach Nealon. What was his name?
Bob Nealon, former
Don
Nealon, yeah.
And talked about how he's in the ACC and Big Ten country, but the league is the Big 12. They're playing Oklahoma and Texas Tech and people like that. That's kind of odd.
Max, if you had to name a team, and I've already gone out and picked LSU as my dark horse this year. I know you like Florida, but would you think Florida has the best chance of dethroning Alabama?
No, Florida's not there yet, Mike. Florida's still another year or 2. I got them on my schedule. I think they win 10-11 this year. The Georgia game obviously will be the critical game for them. I think they're mulling out Coach Kirby Smart every day of the week.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes, but Georgia still got more talent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Georgia right now, though, is critical. I'm telling you, they have no backups as Justin Fields left.
Well, let me just say something, and I'm not being critical of the North or the South, but the head football coach in Florida is from the North. I mean, he's a Yankee, wouldn't you say?
He's from New Hampshire.
He's from New Hampshire. Well, all right, now you think of him. He's been at Mississippi State, a good old boy state, old country boy state. Now he's at the University of Florida, a much more northern,
Culture
or
environment.
oriented area. When you say the University of Florida was a much more yuppie type school than Mississippi State.
You have a lot more transplants.
Mike, you got to understand where they are.
That's right.
There's a lot of difference between Starkville, Mississippi, and Gainesville, Florida.
And what I'm saying, they speak a different language than we do, don't they?
Well, hey, look, Dan Mullen is not the most popular guy wherever he
Yeah,
is.
I've heard that.
His attitude is raw and rough, and he'll cut you down the heartbeat. Look, I've had good friends work for him for a year. He'll dress the coaches down in front of the players. I mean, he is not a pleasant guy, but I'm going to tell you, look at his results. I just had this interview yesterday about Dan Mullen. We talked about his recruiting base, and he gets criticized from his fan base because a lot of times he don't go after those big-time five-star guys. He believes in his ability to coach them up, and consequently he can get about what he wants to. The truth of that is, look at Felipe Franks. He was one of the worst quarterbacks in the country to begin the season last year. I thought he'd be benched by third ball game.
Yeah.
The kid's 6'6", 250 now. It runs a full.
Well, and there's no question that he's able to turn them around. And probably in college football today, he's probably the best on the field game time
I think he's the
coaches.
best play caller in the conference now.
Okay.
I don't think there's any doubt about
And
that.
in fact, Malzahn probably thinks he is, but most people would say that Mullen is at Florida. So that's going to give him a chance, isn't it? Because let's admit it, he's coaching better football players than he had at Mississippi State. Don't you agree?
That's going to be the whole secret to it. Is that, and he needs another recruiting class. He just had his second one. To be a lack of experience on the offensive front, but they're going to be representable. I think they'll beat Miami by 20 in that opening ball game.
That'd be something. Max, we're going to take a short break. This show is brought to you by Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass right here in Troy. I'd love to see Jason on this commercial.
I love my job. We get to help people who are having the worst day of their life.
You just got to be ready for whatever hits.
She wasn't breathing. She was almost dead.
Stay still there. Stay still. It's fine.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
Have you seen an increase in your insurance premiums or significant change in your insurance coverage? Let Sandbeck Insurance offer you a better plan to suit your business or personal needs. Sandbeck Insurance offers many lines of insurance, whether it's home, farm, or auto insurance, work comp, business, or health and life policies. Sandbeck is here for you. Call or visit our Troy, Enterprise, or Andalusia office today. Sandbeck Insurance, where we take pride in taking care of your insurance needs.
Safety first at Wiley Sanders Truck Line. At Wiley Sanders Truck Line, we practice safety first. That's right, safety first. Remember, school is about to start. Look twice, then look again. Wiley Sanders Truck Line, where safety is first. Wiley Sanders Truck Line, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, 401k, up to 4% of your gross pay. We match it, 4% of your gross pay. Wiley Sanders Truck Line, Troy, Alabama. Drive for the best. Wiley Sanders.
The country.
Back to our show, brought to you by Wiley Sanders Truck Lines in Troy, Alabama, one of the great truck lines in America, ladies and gentlemen, and they've got all kinds of amenities to choose from today, and call them at Wiley Sanders Truck Lines in Troy, Alabama. Bill Rice is with us here. Max Howell is on the phone. Mike Amos is also on the phone. Max, I want to ask you something. I drove from Bruton, Alabama, back toward Troy, and I got sort of turned around. You can get lost over in that part of the country. I didn't even see a street light for a long time.
you ought to try driving in Mississippi.
And it doesn't tell you where you're at. And then I think I saw 3 cars in the whole time it took me to get back.
I'm driving 1,000 miles a week right now.
Oh, boy.
For the last month or two. And I'm telling you, I've been all over Mississippi, all over Alabama, all of Panhandle, all the way over to Atlanta. And you know, I love those back roads, though. You don't have to drive 90 miles an hour to keep up.
Well, I went down through Andalusia, which is a beautiful place, and drove down to Bruton, and, you know, that's quite a... Let me just say this. I passed by the high school, and there were just hundreds of cars parked out there, it looked like. And when I got to my meeting, it was a good group of people. I said, well, what are they doing down at the high school? You know what they said? They're signing up for youth football. And I bet there was 100 cars there to sign up for youth football.
You remember when Andalusia had a 56-game winning streak in football?
In regular season.
Yeah.
And
see, that's the whole secret of the future, guys. If you can't keep the youth programs alive, then the whole sports industry will die.
Well, let me just tell you this, Max. I know
you got kids playing flag football.
That's what it is. They're all playing flag football now, Max.
Well, they can't do the injury thing, Mike.
Yeah.
They just don't want them to get hurt. And, you know, and look, guys, I got to tell you, the contact football at early ages sent more kids to the, you know, to the band and to the halls than any other thing.
Yeah.
I mean, look, of course, I come back from a different era than you guys do, Mike, even before you. But contact football didn't even start till you were about the 8th grade when I came out. I mean, they didn't have little bitty kids, you know, out there wearing the sweet and trying to target people.
And if you played back then, you were bound to get a broken nose because there was no face mask.
When you played football, you played in the front yard or the backyard, didn't you?
That's exactly right.
Let me ask you this, growing up, how many times did you butt heads with people just playing tackle football and just knocking around, and you just hurt because your head had bumped into his head? You remember that growing up?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we didn't, I mean, that was, you know.
This was without a helmet and just, you know, just playing and butting heads.
See, when I came along, Mike, we didn't have Little League anything.
Yeah.
No baseball, no football, none of that. When you got to the 8th grade, you know, you could go out for junior high.
That's right.
And then you might play in the 9th grade.
That's
and
right.
Of course, after that called away the guys that really didn't have a burning desire to get hit every day. It was just a different day.
All right, Max, everybody talks about how hot it is, and it is extremely hot. The first thing that a Troy kid does, and this is mandatory now, Max, they've got that new facility now, and they've got that ice pool.
Right.
And they get in, and this ice pool is probably 20, 25 feet long. And each player, every player that comes in off the field has to walk through that ice pool.
Yep. Well, it's going to get your body temperature.
That's exactly right. They say that it's just made a huge difference. Well, let me ask this. What did we do when we didn't have that? Everybody's got it now.
Yeah, those are all the new things. That was so funny. I drove through the Delta yesterday going to Greenville, and I topped the hill in Greenville and started down to the Delta. There was this huge sign. It was a neon lit up sign that says 100 degrees. That's the temperature, not the miles per hour. And that was at 11 o'clock yesterday morning. It was 100 already over there. They said the heat index in the Delta yesterday was 115.
When you were at Troy, there was a young man from Greenwood, Mississippi, that was probably the best lineman in the South. His name was Gene Haskins.
Gene Haskins, yeah.
Hey, was he pretty? He was 6'5", weighed about 270, 275 back then, which was huge.
It was, yeah.
But he was from Greenwood, Mississippi. You remember that?
I remember that, and I've lost contact with Gene. I don't know if he's still.
I want to say he was up in the Carolinas, somewhere north of South Carolina, if that's close enough.
You know what Greenwood, Mississippi is famous for? Viking stoves.
Oh, really? Viking stoves? I would have never known it, Mike.
You know what? They sold that. I went right back yesterday. It's closed.
Wow. They have the Alluvian Hotel downtown. That's beautiful. I've stayed in Greenwood a couple times. My wife's got good friends from there.
Well, let me me tell you something here, Mike. Where was old Diaz charcoal made?
Dizzy Dean?
Yeah. Yeah, you never heard of old Dizzy Dean charcoal?
I think it's still around, isn't it?
It's from Wiggins, Mississippi. Is that right, Max? Wiggins?
That's right, yeah.
That's where old...
I believe that's right, yes.
And then who was from Yazoo City, Mississippi?
Jerry Clower?
Yeah.
He played football.
And they gave Marcel the beer joint. Just shoot up in here because one of us has got to have some relief. You remember Jerry Clower?
That's Yazoo City, man.
From Yazoo City, Mississippi. And he played against, played football against Georgia, and he was talking about this guy named Travis Tidwell. You ever heard of Travis Tidwell?
Yep.
Max Howell is our guest, and Max, is fixing to happen now. So you think Florida is a dark horse in the SEC, or which team?
I think the biggest game. Of course, they got Auburn's coming to town. They got LSU coming, and they got to go to Jacksonville to play Georgia. So they could be 9-3, or they could be 11-1. I don't look for them to go undefeated, but I think they got a good chance to get 10.
All right.
That's what I got on the list, and that's what they won this past year. I think they can repeat that, and I think another recruiting class, it's going to put them right there with Georgia.
Well, you're going to laugh at me, Max, but and of course their schedule is horrendous. But, Auburn, when you think Auburn's not going to do good, and everybody said, oh, they're not going to do good, they'll be 7-5, 6-6.
That's when they
But
go.
watch out, because they're good when
Yeah.
you don't expect them to be. What do you think?
I don't. If they get better than 8-4, he ought to dust up the year. In an awful mess. Of course, he's at Florida now, by the way.
Is he really? I didn't know that.
You know what they paid him?
How
they
much?
Paid him $1.3 million as assistant athletic director.
Oh, gosh. Doesn't that make you, isn't that crazy?
I knew I should have gone into athletic administration.
Man, I know it. No question about it.
You know what? He is the highest paid retiree in the history of the Alabama retirement program. You know what his monthly draw of his annual? I don't know what his annual is. His annual from the retirement program was $800,000 a year.
Oh, man. Boy, he knew what he was doing when he left there.
I bet he lives in a brick house.
No question. That's the difference. Max, we do appreciate you, my friend, and tell us what's for dinner.
Well, Mike, it's going to kind of get a little hairy now because of football schedule, but we're still doing that. Our guys like either fish or shrimp this time of year, and we all go down both my groups have got houses right on the river,
yeah,
and, with outdoor kitchens and all that stuff, and I'll either do crawfish, shrimp, or some fish, depending on if they've all been fishing.
Yeah.
Just, I think I told you last 2 weekends, we just did the shrimp. We did the shrimp bowl, much like crawfish, with the potatoes and corn and the Louisiana crawfish bowl.
Well, fried crawfish is good. I like fried crawfish.
Yeah, and we do it all, man. We do some fried, I do the tail sometimes. I'll do the shrimp with that. I do the shrimp sometimes on a grill with a skewer, looks like a shish kebab. I'll put the vegetables in between. I do it a bunch of different ways. But our meals are really light, like in the summertime. Coleslaw, we don't even do potato salad. That's too heavy for them.
Boy.
Garlic bread. And I told you last week, I think that my guys in the summertime, I'm either going to bring key lime pie or lemon meringue, something that's very light.
Boy, it sounds good. It sounds good. It sounds like you live in paradise, Max.
I know it.
Well, let me tell you, Mike, I got the best out-of-season job of anybody in America. I cook 3 to 4 weekends, every weekend for two. I have 2 groups, all hunters and fishermen, and sometimes their wives show up, sometimes it's just the guys show up. And we did either do it now. From now on, since football's on, we do it on Sunday afternoon because they'll all gather for Saturday afternoon.
Well, you know what they're doing too? They're shooting dove hunting.
Dove over up to September 1st, man.
Boy, and of course, those dove breasts with the hot grits and biscuits, you can't beat it, can you?
Listen, man, they'll skin those things out, and I'll just cook the breasts. I'll do them.
That's right. Just reach in there and pull that breast out.
Listen, these guys are. I told you before. Not only do they fix everything for me, I do the cooking. They'll help clean up. I get all the leftovers, and they pay me.
friend. We hope to see you next week.
I will be right here, Mike. Thank
Thank
you,
you, my friend.
See you, Max.
Bye-bye. Hope you've enjoyed our show, ladies and gentlemen. Max Howell every Wednesday on our show, and we appreciate him. And, you know, he goes out to a lot of the major networks all over the country and very kind to come on our show.
He makes a lot of interesting points.
No question about it. We hope you've enjoyed our show. You can watch us again today at 1:30 right here on this dial, and hope that you have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow, bright and early. Remember, we're brought to you by Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass in Troy. I bought a Ram, a Jeep Cherokee